When you look at the news today, it's easy to feel uncertain about tomorrow. Questions rise, fears spread, and many wonder, is the future safe? But let me remind you of a powerful truth. The future of this nation is not fragile, it is secure, and the best days are still ahead. When we look at the world around us, it is easy to let fear creep in. News reports are often filled with uncertainty, challenges, and predictions that make us question what tomorrow will bring. But fear is not what defines the future, and fear is not what holds the future together. Fear only weakens us, it robs us of peace, and it blinds us from the truth that there is a greater hand at work. The future is not in the hands of fear, it is in the hands of God, and that is why we can step forward with courage and confidence. Fear says, "You are not safe," but faith says, "You are secure." Fear whispers that the challenges will overwhelm us, but faith declares that we are protected and destined for greater things. The difference between living in fear and living in faith is the difference between walking in darkness and walking in light. When a person chooses fear, they see every obstacle as a threat that cannot be overcome. They shrink back, they hesitate, and they miss the opportunities that are hidden in the challenges. But when someone chooses faith, their perspective shifts. They understand that challenges are not there to destroy them, but to prepare them for new levels of strength and victory. In the same way, a nation that is rooted in fear will be fragile, unstable, and divided. But a nation that chooses faith will be strong, resilient, and secure in the face of uncertainty. Faith does not mean that difficulties disappear, but it does mean that difficulties no longer control the outcome. Faith gives assurance that what is ahead is greater than what is behind, and that nothing can stand against the divine purpose guiding the future. It is natural to feel concerned about tomorrow. We are human, and we do not know all the details of what lies ahead. But we do know who holds the future. We do know that the same God who has carried us through past struggles is the same God who will lead us through the ones yet to come. Faith draws strength from history, from moments when impossible situations were turned into victories, when closed doors became open pathways, and when what looked like defeat was transformed into blessing. If God has done it before, He can do it again. Faith remembers that no storm lasts forever, and that after the rain comes a brighter day. The reason we can boldly say that the future is safe is not because of what we see with our eyes, but because of what we believe in our hearts. Faith is not built on shifting circumstances, it is built on unshakable truth. The stock market may rise and fall, leaders may change, global events may stir uncertainty, but faith stands firm, knowing that none of these things define destiny. Faith declares that the future is not fragile, it is secure because it is anchored in God's plan, not in human fear. What we choose to focus on has incredible power over the direction of our lives, and even the destiny of a nation. Words are not just sounds, they carry energy, they shape attitudes, and they create an atmosphere around us. When people continually speak of defeat, destruction, and hopelessness, they are in fact planting seeds that grow into the very things they fear. On the other hand, when voices rise to declare hope, strength, and unity, those words create a foundation that inspires progress and security. The power of vision is directly tied to the power of our words, because what we continually speak becomes what we begin to believe, and what we believe becomes what we pursue. A nation that chooses to dwell on negativity will always see darkness ahead, but a nation that chooses to speak words of light will move toward a brighter and safer tomorrow. Every great movement in history began with words that painted a picture of a better future. Leaders who inspired change did not spend their time describing how bad things were. They lifted the vision of the people by showing them what could be. That same principle holds true today. If the language of the people is filled with fear and despair, then fear and despair will define the future. But if the language is filled with hope and faith, that positive vision will begin to take shape in reality. Speaking hope is not ignoring challenges. It is refusing to let challenges have the final word. Speaking faith does not deny reality. It declares that reality is not fixed and that change is always possible. When people wake up every day and hear messages of negativity, they begin to expect more negativity. But when people wake up and hear words of encouragement, when they are reminded that there is a plan greater than the problems, they begin to walk with strength, with purpose, and with confidence. That is why it is so important to guard not only what we say, but also what we allow ourselves to hear. If all we listen to is defeat, we will begin to carry defeat in our spirit. But if we tune our hearts to words of life, words that call out greatness and unity, we will carry a vision that attracts safety and strength into the future. In personal life, speaking faith can transform a household. In national life, speaking faith can transform a country. When neighbors begin to encourage each other, when communities speak words of healing instead of division, when leaders speak with vision instead of fear, the atmosphere of an entire nation can shift. Words can build walls of separation, but they can also build bridges of hope. Vision can destroy unity, but it can also inspire peace. The choice always begins with the words we allow to flow from our mouths. If we choose words that honor God, words that call forth blessing, and words that unite instead of divide, we will see those words take root and grow into a safer, stronger future for generations to come. A nation cannot stand strong if it is divided against itself. Division weakens the foundation of any people, leaving them vulnerable to fear, conflict, and instability. But when there is unity, there is strength that cannot easily be shaken. Unity is not about everyone thinking exactly the same or agreeing on every single issue. It is about realizing that we are stronger together than we are apart. When people choose to rise above differences and stand shoulder to shoulder for a greater purpose, they create an atmosphere where safety and progress can flourish. A divided people may fall into confusion and unrest, but a united people can face any challenge with confidence and resolve. Unity is powerful because it binds hearts and minds toward common goals. It allows people to look past what separates them and instead focus on what connects them. Families are stronger when they are united. Communities thrive when they work together. Nations rise when their people choose unity over division. History shows that the greatest victories come when people stand together, not when they turn against each other. Division is easy. It takes no effort to criticize, to argue, or to tear others down. But unity requires courage, humility, and a willingness to see beyond personal interest for the sake of a larger vision. When unity becomes the heartbeat of a nation, fear loses its power. Safety becomes stronger because people protect not only themselves but also one another. Division makes people suspicious of their neighbors, but unity allows them to see neighbors as allies. A culture of unity silences the voices of hate and amplifies the voices of peace. It strengthens trust in the community, and where trust exists, there is security. Even in the face of difficulties, a united people will endure. Challenges may come, but when everyone pulls in the same direction, obstacles lose their power. In times of trial, division will cause collapse, but unity will build resilience. This is why unity is so vital to the safety of the future. It is not just a matter of getting along. It is a matter of survival, of protection, and of creating the kind of environment where growth is possible. Unity also invites blessing. When hearts are aligned and people work together, there is a supernatural strength that enters the picture. What cannot be done by one person alone can be accomplished when many stand together. This principle is true in every area of life, from a family household to the destiny of an entire country. Division will always diminish potential, but unity will always multiply it. The future of the United States depends not on how loud the arguments are, but on how strong the commitment to unity becomes. Safety and peace are not built on division, but on togetherness. When people come together as one nation, under one vision, there is no obstacle too great, no challenge too strong, and no darkness that can overshadow the light of a united people. Every difficulty that arises is not meant to destroy, but to develop strength for the journey ahead. Challenges are not signs that the future is unsafe or uncertain. They are reminders that growth requires pressure and progress requires perseverance. When a person lifts weights, the resistance is what builds muscle. In the same way, when a nation faces struggles, the resistance is what builds resilience. Without challenges, there would be no need for courage, no opportunity for unity, and no reason to discover the hidden strength that lies within. What may feel like a setback is often the very thing preparing us for the next season of victory. It is natural to see challenges as threats. The human mind often focuses on the discomfort of the moment rather than the benefit that will come later. Yet every storm has a purpose. Every trial carries within it the potential for transformation. A challenge that looks like the end can actually become the beginning of something far greater. Nations throughout history have been tested, but those tests often became the foundation for their greatest triumphs. Pressure reveals character and struggle reveals potential. Without challenges, progress would remain hidden, but through them, strength rises to the surface. A nation that embraces challenges as opportunities for growth will never remain stuck. Instead of falling into despair, it will rise with determination. When people understand that hardships are not permanent roadblocks but temporary stepping stones, they begin to see every trial as preparation. That perspective changes fear into faith and weakness into resilience. The same heat that melts wax hardens clay, and in the same way, challenges that weaken some can strengthen others, depending on how they are received. Choosing to see challenges as preparation will always lead to victory in the long run. Challenges also unite people in ways comfort never can. When struggles come, communities rally together, neighbors help neighbors, and the bonds of unity grow stronger. What seemed like a threat becomes a bridge that connects hearts and builds trust. Shared struggle creates shared strength, and shared strength creates safety for the future. The difficulties faced today may be uncomfortable, but they are forging bonds that will hold firm tomorrow. It is also in challenges that innovation is born. Hardship pushes people to think differently, to create solutions, and to find new ways of moving forward. Many of the greatest breakthroughs in history came in times of crisis, when people had no choice but to rise higher than before. The discomfort of struggle forces creativity, and creativity leads to advancement. Without the challenge, the progress might never have been discovered. When viewed through the lens of faith, challenges become signs that something greater is on the way. They are not dead ends but doorways. They are not punishments but preparations. Every difficulty carries a seed of opportunity, and every struggle can be turned into strength. Instead of fearing the storm, people can learn to see it as a pathway to a brighter, safer, and stronger future. There is a power greater than any challenge, and that is the favor of God. Human plans may rise and fall, leaders may come and go, threats may appear strong, but none of these things can override divine purpose. Favor is what opens doors that no person can shut. It is what brings protection when danger surrounds, what provides resources when supplies run low, and what lifts up when everything else seems to be pulling down. When a nation carries the favor of God, it does not matter how impossible the obstacles look, because favor makes a way where there seems to be no way. Favor is not dependent on circumstances being perfect. In fact, it often shines brightest when circumstances look the darkest. When people face battles that seem unwinnable, favor gives them victory. When resources seem scarce, favor brings provision. When fear tries to dominate the atmosphere, favor brings peace that cannot be explained. Favor is greater than statistics, greater than predictions, and greater than opposition. It is a shield that surrounds and a light that leads forward. The future of the United States is not resting solely on political systems, financial markets, or global negotiations. Those things are important, but they are not the ultimate source of safety. True security comes from knowing that God's favor covers the nation. Problems may arise, but favor says they will not have the last word. Enemies may plot, but favor says their plans will fail. Challenges may grow, but favor says strength will grow even greater. Favor has the power to turn what was meant for harm into something that brings good. Throughout history, there are countless examples of situations where human strength alone could not have carried the day, yet favor stepped in and shifted the outcome. Victories that should have been impossible were won, doors that should have remained closed swung wide open, and futures that seemed uncertain became secure. That is what favor does. It takes what is natural and adds the supernatural. It brings an assurance that nothing is too difficult, no challenge is too overwhelming, and no future is too fragile when God is involved. Favor also brings blessing not just to individuals, but to entire communities and nations. When people walk in faith and live with gratitude, they open themselves to more of God's goodness. That goodness spreads, and the atmosphere of a nation can change. Where there was once division, favor can bring unity. Where there was fear, favor can bring courage. Where there was lack, favor can bring abundance. It only takes a spark of favor to light the fire of transformation. When we look at the future through the lens of favor, everything changes. The focus shifts from what is wrong to what is possible, from fear of what might happen to confidence in what will happen. Favor reminds us that we are not walking into the future alone, but under the covering of a God who is greater than any storm. This favor is what makes the future safe, what secures tomorrow, and what ensures that the best is yet to come. Hope is the anchor that keeps hearts steady when everything else feels uncertain. It is the quiet assurance that tomorrow can be brighter than today, that what is ahead is greater than what is behind, and that no matter how dark the night may seem, the morning will come. Hope is not wishful thinking. It is a confident expectation that better days are on the horizon. When a nation holds on to hope, it cannot be easily shaken. Hope fuels resilience, lifts spirits, and inspires people to keep moving forward even when the path is difficult. Without hope, people give up, but with hope, they rise stronger after every fall. The future of the United States is safe because it is filled with hope. Hope transforms the way challenges are viewed. Instead of seeing them as barriers, hope sees them as stepping stones. Instead of believing that setbacks define the end, hope believes they prepare the way for new beginnings. Hope looks at obstacles and says, "This is temporary. Something greater is on the way." That shift in perspective allows individuals, families, and even entire nations to keep pressing forward when everything else says to stop. Hope also has the power to unify. When people share a vision of a brighter tomorrow, they set aside differences to work toward it together. Hope builds bridges where division once stood. It creates a culture where neighbors look out for one another and where leaders inspire rather than discourage. A hopeful nation is not easily divided because its people are bound together by the common belief that the best is still ahead. History has shown that hope carries people through the darkest of times. Wars, disasters, and crises have all tested humanity, but it was hope that allowed people to rise from the ashes and rebuild. Hope does not eliminate pain, but it gives strength to endure it and faith to believe in something greater beyond it. Every generation that has carried hope forward has paved the way for progress, and the same is true today. Hope ensures that the next generation inherits not despair but determination. Hope also fuels action. When people are filled with hope, they do not sit back passively. They get up and work toward the vision they believe in. Hope stirs creativity, innovation, and courage. It tells people that their effort is not wasted and that what they do today will make tomorrow better. Without hope, progress stalls, but with hope, even the most impossible goals become achievable. A hopeful nation becomes a nation of dreamers, builders, and achievers who are not limited by fear but driven by vision. The reason hope is so powerful is that it does not rest on circumstances but on a greater promise. Circumstances may change, but hope rooted in faith remains steady. It lifts eyes above temporary struggles and directs them toward lasting strength. That is why the future of the USA is safe. It is not because there will be no challenges, but because hope will always point the way through them. Hope assures that the best is not behind us but ahead, and that tomorrow carries more promise than today. Hope is the anchor that keeps hearts steady when everything else feels uncertain. It is the quiet assurance that tomorrow can be brighter than today, that what is ahead is greater than what is behind, and that no matter how dark the night may seem, the morning will come. Hope is not wishful thinking. It is a confident expectation that better days are on the horizon. When a nation holds on to hope, it cannot be easily shaken. Hope fuels resilience, lifts spirits, and inspires people to keep moving forward even when the path is difficult. Without hope, people give up, but with hope, they rise stronger after every fall. The future of the United States is safe because it is filled with hope. Hope transforms the way challenges are viewed. Instead of seeing them as barriers, hope sees them as stepping stones. Instead of believing that setbacks define the end, hope believes they prepare the way for new beginnings. Hope looks at obstacles and says, "This is temporary, something greater is on the way." That shift in perspective allows individuals, families, and even entire nations to keep pressing forward when everything else says to stop. Hope also has the power to unify. When people share a vision of a brighter tomorrow, they set aside differences to work toward it together. Hope builds bridges where division once stood. It creates a culture where neighbors look out for one another and where leaders inspire rather than discourage. A hopeful nation is not easily divided because its people are bound together by the common belief that the best is still ahead. History has shown that hope carries people through the darkest of times. Wars, disasters, and crises have all tested humanity, but it was hope that allowed people to rise from the ashes and rebuild. Hope does not eliminate pain, but it gives strength to endure it and faith to believe in something greater beyond it. Every generation that has carried hope forward has paved the way for progress, and the same is true today. Hope ensures that the next generation inherits not despair, but determination. Hope also fuels action. When people are filled with hope, they do not sit back passively. They get up and work toward the vision they believe in. Hope stirs creativity, innovation, and courage. It tells people that their effort is not wasted and that what they do today will make tomorrow better. Without hope, progress stalls, but with hope, even the most impossible goals become achievable. A hopeful nation becomes a nation of dreamers, builders, and achievers who are not limited by fear but driven by vision. The reason hope is so powerful is that it does not rest on circumstances but on a greater promise. Circumstances may change, but hope rooted in faith remains steady. It lifts eyes above temporary struggles and directs them toward lasting strength. That is why the future of the USA is safe. It is not because there will be no challenges, but because hope will always point the way through them. Hope assures that the best is not behind us but ahead, and that tomorrow carries more promise than today. No matter the challenges, no matter the uncertainties, the future of this nation is not in danger. It is safe, it is strong, and it is filled with hope. The best is still to come.